We're here.
CJ, do you give any credit to the people who comment first in the YouTube chat?
Absolutely. Baller SP, congratulations. For this episode, you are the first.
Now, you've told me before, and I haven't seen this, but before we go live, they can get into the chat on YouTube once you've created this thing.
That's right.
Does it count if they say first before the video actually starts, or does it count if they say first when the chat opens?
I think the diehards that type in when the stream is not live, I kind of respect that more.
Okay.
Because they're saying that not sure if anyone's gonna respond.
Right.
Like at least when you are when the stream's live and you're chatting, like you can almost feel like you're having a conversation. When the stream's not live, you're just speaking into a void, not knowing when it's going to turn on. So,
wow.
However, in this instance, Dan was the first to say anything when the stream
Once
was
the video
live.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Baller SP and Dan, you're both separate winners. You've won separate contests. You're both first. Two people are first. Egalitarian. It is a socialist chat in that everyone wins.
that's right. Do we have any Bitcoin talk?
Well, I like hearing CJ rule over the chat.
Yeah.
If there's any sort of like, it's like petty crime, like petty court. What is it called? Petty crimes court?
No, it's
small claims court.
Small
That's what I'm
claims.
thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's CJ. Just bring him in first.
CJ Wapner.
Not first. CJ will decide. And we'll go from there.
Nice. Spike, I saw you tweet something about Bitcoin earlier today.
We'll get to that on the pod.
Yeah,
First, we'll just lay it out for Mike.
There we go. Not looking good.
Well, the thing I tweeted out, before we start, if you haven't read it, Bitcoin people are sort of like Bruce Springsteen people, in that if you say you like Bruce Springsteen, they tell you that you don't understand Bruce Springsteen, and you're just like, actually, I don't actually know. I don't like it. So if you say that you are not in favor of like cryptocurrencies, you don't believe them, they say, oh, you just don't get it. But maybe that's not the case. So I thought that the thing I posted earlier about the lack of utility is interesting. So, no, there is no Ricky coin coming soon. We did have that offered very early in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Somebody offered up a Ricky coin to create a Bitcoin for us. So, all right, let's go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by Draftkings Sportsbook. Sign up for Draftkings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by MortgageCS, the official mortgage broker of the process. Become a MortgageCS Ricky VIP by going to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. Bodybio, get 20% off any Bodybio order with code RTRS20 at bodybio.com. And Kinetic Skateboarding, get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. On the show today, one Jake Fisher reports that James Harden would likely sign a medium-size extension. Then Doc Rivers on TMZ says he'll sign a huge one. The Celtics lose the NBA Finals as the Horford siblings jinx the city of Boston. We finally get to Sixers Adams fake trades and mailbag and voicemail. Two things. First of all, Kinetic Skateboarding, I mentioned early on, this weekend, I've said before, they get sneakers nobody else gets. This weekend, they have the Nike SB ISO Unbleached Dunk Highs. They have a raffle for them. You have to go to Kinetic Skateboarding, right there on Route 202 in Wilmington. You get a ticket, then you raffle to get it. And 3 lucky people who win the raffle will get a second pair of the shoes. The second pair will be free, and they will custom dye the second pair. One of their guys, Kyle, does these custom dyes of the Nike SB Unbleached Dunks. So go to Kinetic Skateboarding's Instagram or Twitter to find out more. And if you just want to order online, go to kineticskateboarding.com and use promo code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Also, we have a new t-shirt. We've threatened this. It has the names of everyone who voted for Jokic in the MVP voting on the back. Above it, it says wrong. And the front, a Rocky III inspired image of an MVP Embiid outrunning a Vorp inspired Nikola Jokic. There are only 300 of these in existence. 150 of them are sold. You can go to our social media accounts to find them, or the t-shirt section of RightsRickySanchez.com. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. 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 I say the name. I say the name. Say the name.
Life's tricky Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rice Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who will expertly explain the financial collapse related to Bitcoin. That is one, Mike Levin. Go, Mike.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get all of it. I'm definitely was on board the whole time. You know who it actually would be? I would like to hear even less explaining it than me.
Mm-hmm.
Is the guy that I've been meaning to talk to about the past couple pods, and it's our boy in the deal zone himself, Brian Windhorst.
Oh. You would
I've
like
been-
to talk to him about Bitcoin?
No, I want to hear it even less than I would if I'm an unbiased listener. I would want to hear from me on Bitcoin in no way whatsoever, and I would want to hear it even less from Windy because I think both of us, or I'll just speak for myself. I think I hesitate to like really talk shit about like people in the media that much,
Yeah.
and especially more so for me in TV and stuff. Because you never know who you're going to run into and all that shit. But I just think Brian Windhorst is one of the most insufferable people on the planet. I think everything he says is awful. Everything, the tone he says it in, how he talks about basketball, how he talks about himself, how he talks to Zach. It is just tiresome. Every single word that comes out of his mouth, the way his voice sounds, it's just awful. It's awful. And he just seems to, and he has lapped back around in bringing up LeBron at any single moment in time. He's going to relate it to LeBron. I don't think he has anything smart to say about the league. I think he just happened to be isn't he from Cleveland? And that's he just
there.
Like got on board with LeBron and just like wrote it for a 20-year career or whatever. I think it's remarkable. I think he brings no value whatsoever. Just a tough time to listen to on every front. I've never met him. I've never talked to him. He's never done anything.
Yeah, he could be a fine guy. Yeah.
The listening experience is brutal. It is a brutal time. The aggregators, he's upset all the time at his job. I don't understand. His job is to break news, and he's upset when people talk about the news that he's broken. Like I don't understand why anybody talks to him or gives him news or think that he's interesting. Holy hell. It is just rough. It's just rough. I've been thinking about it for a while. I was like, I forgot to bring up Windhorst. But like, yeah, I don't know anything about him as a human being, but everything he says, all the words that he's said have made me dislike everything about him.
So I didn't expect the pod to start that way. It was brilliant. I like when you launch. I think we are on the same page in that generally I don't like to disparage members of the media in that I manage members of the media. I think we are on some way in the media, though we are honest. You don't want to just bury somebody for burying them's sake.
Yeah, the way I just did, yeah.
The way that you just did. So I had a moment with Windy. I was listening. I listen to sports podcasts very inoften at this point, but I do listen to Zach's occasionally, depending on the circumstance. I think actually Zach Lowe, credit to Zach Lowe, has become a really good podcaster. And you can tell the difference now because when he has somebody else on who can't keep up with him, you can tell the difference. He can do it now. He does like monologues sometimes I think are really, really good. After the Game 6 ended, he did a pod with Windy, and I listened to it. And there was one moment I actually thought about clipping to play on the pod. It's like in the first 10 seconds or first 10 minutes, and Zach says something, and Zach's not a hot take guy. He's Zach Lowe. Zach brings up, hey, now there's a conversation about whether Steph Curry is in the top 10. And Windy goes, I don't want to discuss that. I don't want to discuss that. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is basketball. Like whether a player is a top 10 player ever, that is a normal discussion to have. It's also, it wasn't like Zach said, I want to talk about Steph Curry's marriage and whether they've both been faithful. Like it was an offer to discuss the career rankings of a player who just won a first finals MVP, an all-time great, and just his sanctimony, I think is the word that oozes from him about everything that he does and everything he talks about is just, he talks as if everyone else is so foolish when they discuss it, and he just is too classy to even be engaged.
He is too classy to even engage. He is, actually.
Well,
the saying that he doesn't want to talk about that was actually to me the best thing he said all podcast. So it's a low bar. But now I feel bad because we're both shitting on him. If you were pro Windy, then it would be fun. But now I feel bad.
Well, I'm sure he's a great guy. Windy,
I'm sure he's the best. I'm sure he has so many valuable things to say. I'm sure everybody loves talking to him. I just listen to him every time
We can stop. All right.
The podcast.
Speaking of aggregation, I thought there was an interesting thing. There were a couple news and notes about the Sixers. One, the headline being the Jake Fisher one. And our own Jake Fisher, who writes for Bleacher Report and does several different internet web shows at this point, wrote an article, and in his tweet said something to the effect of James Harden is expected to sign a shorter term extension with the Sixers. Mm-hmm. But then when you read his own, because Jake does complain about aggregation every once in a while.
He complains about bad aggregation.
Bad aggregation.
When they incorrectly cite him, I think, which I think is reasonable.
Sure. But let me ask you this. Take the tweet and CJ, if you can find the tweet just so I can word it properly. I don't want to misquote Jake, but it was a reasonably definitive tweet with the story that said he's expected to sign a short-term extension. And this is not shitting on you, Jake. I just want to be clear. I know Jake listens. It's not shitting on you. But I want to, the article itself says, here's the quote, Sixers ownership has been resistant to the idea of giving Harden a full 4-year maximum contract extension beyond his 2022-23 option. Sources told Bleacher Report, or the 5-year deal that Harden will be eligible for if he chose to decline his player option for next season. Signing perhaps a 2-year extension after his option season to create a new 3-year framework would also provide Harden with greater opportunity for his own career. Later on, if Harden opts out, the maximum he can earn on a new 3-year deal will be $150.7 million. There has also been plenty of talk among league personnel of Harden potentially taking less than his maximum salary to amplify Philadelphia's efforts to build a championship contending rotation around Harden and Embiid. All his article says to me is what the Sixers team would like to do. It does not, there's no line in this article to me that says this is what is expected to happen. So I think what got aggregated was his tweet, but what is said in the article is different. Is that fair?
It sounds fair. It's nice to hear that the Sixers don't want to sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal, or would prefer to sign him to a 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So I like that there's that. So if that's the starting point, then wasn't there also a line in there about how he would maybe take less money to give the Sixers more flexibility in building a good team around him.
But again, there has been plenty of talk among league personnel of Harden potentially taking less than his maximum salary to amplify. Like,
there's plenty of talk in Mike's hopes and dreams of
Mike used
Harden.
to be 11, you know.
Yeah, Harden, he did used to be 11. Let's all establish that. But yeah, I hope this is right. I hope that, because Harden does he have an agent? Isn't he a no agent guy?
He is a no agent guy, but he must have somebody that negotiates the contract. Yeah.
But hopefully, if we can get to, if it's like 4 and like significantly less money, or 3 and even more money, I think like that is you're fine with it. As long as it doesn't, it's not a full 4 or a full 5, like a rich 2 or 3. I feel good about it.
My tea leaf reading says that GMs around the league are not enormous Daryl fans, at least professionally, as he is pretty out there, and likes
you think still
to win trades. I don't think they hate him, but like I don't think anybody wants to get taken by Morey. I think they like to see him fail if he fails.
Sure. I mean, I guess the reason I'm saying that is because like the league has gravitated closer to the kind of GM that Daryl is for the most part. Like if you said it in like 2006, like everyone hates the analytics guy that's like out and talking about shit. I get it. But like right now, even in 2012, whatever, but like right now, like almost every GM is like aligned with Daryl on a lot of things, I would say.
My sense says that James Harden believed that when he was forcing a trade to the Sixers, he was getting the full max. My sense is that he believed that. My sense is also that after he got here, it became incredibly clear to everyone, the organization, to Daryl, and to the rest of the league, that guy is clearly not as good as he used to be. He wasn't just like sandbagging. Like there's a difference. And my guess would be there is and we'll see who breaks, and maybe Harden sort of like agrees, hey, you're right, I'm not quite as good. But if he believed he was getting that, and the Sixers are like, nah, we don't want to give that to you now, I wonder if these plenty of talk around league personnel, if they are even amplifying this idea of Harden taking less because it creates a more uncomfortable situation for Morey and the team and Harden in the negotiations. I know that's like 4-level chess or whatever it's called, but there's something weird here is my only thought. So there's something going on.
What did the person who's always very conscious and subdued and is speaking to the public, what did he say about it, Coach Doc Rivers?
Oh, right. So Doc Rivers, I don't know if you knew this, was actually in Beverly Hills, where there are several great restaurants.
Golf clubs, perhaps?
Yeah. TMZ caught up to him as he was leaving E. Baldy. Is that a restaurant?
Sure. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not eating in fancy Doc Rivers Beverly Hills places.
It's probably on a golf course. They ask him, what kind of deal is James Harden going to get? Doc Rivers responds, a huge deal. And then added, quote, he's excited about coaching him, quote, I love him. There you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doc.
There you go. So we'll see.
It. Huge deal.
We'll see. He has to opt in.
James's lawyer is just printing out the huge deal line and handing it to Daryl. Doc said this, so you have to. Oh, boy. What a team.
Yeah. Here we are, man. Here we are. What's today's date? Today's the 18th. Did I screw something up? Oh.
I'm just happy that Shake's option got picked up, and that we're not dealing in the Pompey reality where they just declined a very simple team option on somebody like that.
Hold on, I have to bring up my.
So far, so good for the offseason for me.
I have to bring up the DraftKings copy because I forgot that we were doing DraftKings. Now that the NBA Finals are over, the only professional sport left in the playoffs is the NHL, and DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final. They say Stanley Cup Final, where it's NBA Finals. If you're a new customer, you can bet $5 on either team to win their game, as we established last time. That is the Colorado Avalanche or the Tampa Bay Lightning, and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. You could also do a same-game parlay in the NHL Final as well. You can combine multiple bets, like this fucking guy's going to score a goal, this guy's not going to score a goal, this team's going to win. You add them all up, the odds get longer, you get a bigger payout. We love DraftKings because they're safe, secure, and reliable, and they have other sports you can bet on besides hockey. Deposit, withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code RTRS. New customers bet $5 on either NHL team to win their game and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That is code RTRS at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Okay, what do we have next? So that's it. We'll see what happens. He has to opt in by the end of this month if he's going to do the opt-in. I guess the contract that Derek had suggested was the opt-in plus 2 years. Is that what he said? The opt-in plus 2 years, so 3 years total. Is that what Derek had suggested? So we'll see what happens. The NBA Finals are over. Warriors beat the Celtics. Jason Tatum, regardless of his texts to Kobe and his wearing Kobe's clothes, is not able to come through in the clutch. The Celtics do not win a game after the Horford siblings talk shit in an Athletic article about Philadelphia.
Wait, we got just on Tatum for a second.
Yeah.
On the Kobe thing.
Yeah.
Oh, a deeply bizarre thing to do.
The texting him, I think, is less bizarre than posting a screenshot of it.
Right. It's not just texting. It's like, fine. If you're mourning, if you're grieving over your,
people
your
do
friend
that.
or mentor,
That's
people
fine.
do that. That's fine. But it's then like going to the public about it and being like, hey, look what I just did.
Well, isn't this
fucking like kind of sick and twisted and like also pretty hot? Like, isn't it hot that aren't you like fucking fired up? Doesn't this fire you up that I texted my dead friend's phone number? Like, it's just very bizarre. It's very showy and out in public. It makes you look incredibly weird to do that and thirsty. And also like it's weird that he's a Celtic and Kobe is a Laker and he was doing this so much. Like, I understand that like that doesn't matter between friends. Like, we're not that part of it is not why they shouldn't be friends, but it's like claiming him so much, so heavily of like, this is my guy, when like everybody in the NBA at this point grew up watching and loving Kobe, and many of them have talked to him, I'm sure, a good amount. But it's like, it's mine. And like, I don't know if Celtics fans feel a little weird about that. Lakers fans definitely are like, what the fuck, man? Like, get out of here. It's very bizarre. He looks weird doing it. I think he is weird. And as we've talked about him before, but Jesse Biddle, former Phillies first round pick, is a listener to the podcast, and he messaged me that because Tatum was bad, Markelle was the right pick. And so I think it's tough to say that it's the right pick, but definitely as far as weirdness goes, Tatum is getting close to how weird Fultz is.
Now I'm going to sound like an old person, but since you already went in on it, I feel like I can do it. And you're also, are you millennial and Tatum is Gen Z? Or is there a difference there? Because I'm Gen X.
I'm millennial.
Right.
I think Tatum is on the cusp or something. I'm not sure.
The showiness of it, isn't that partially a generational thing in that people have grown up? I'm not excusing it because I thought it was weird, but there is a generational thing with people who've grown up with their entire lives on social media, in that if they do not show that something happened, then it didn't happen to them in the same way. And like, sort of the texting him is not enough. You also need to feel that endorphin rush of people telling you how they feel about it, or the action is incomplete. Is it a generational thing, at least partially?
I think that is a thing people say, but I could also see like boomers doing that and posting it on Facebook and being like very outwardly. I think it's just a human thing. Some people do it, some people don't. I don't know that it's necessarily exclusive to the younger generation. I think it's just weird. I think this is a way of doing something in a weird way that crosses all ages and ethnicities in as far as how fucking strange you are.
Strange it is.
Strange choice.
Like Jason Tatum has had a fantastic amount of for his age in terms of playoff success. I think he'll be fine. We said several times he relies too much on difficult shots, which get even more difficult when you're playing better defensive teams. And at some point, he will likely he either will or he won't change that, and he'll get better. I think that to me the most interesting thing of the finals, and a lot of times the chosen 2 or 3 storylines, media storylines, some of them were bullshit, some of them aren't. But I thought that the Steph Curry one is particularly interesting because it was a little weird that he hadn't won a finals MVP. I do think historically he's overrated. It obviously at the end underrated rather. I think he's underrated, like fantastically underrated. I actually do believe he's a top 5 player of all time. He is a singular entity in his effect on the game, and I think that matters in the same way that Iverson's cultural importance matters. I think the difference that Steph Curry has made in basketball matters. All of those things. I think he's a top 5 player, but these are one of the times where it seemed like it was equally as important to the player and the storyline, and like historically, it seems like it matters. You know, like this was just an incredible story, and for Curry, it seemed like it really, really, really meant something to him in a way that the other championships may not have. Certainly the first one meant something. The Durant ones were weird, but he seemed to really revel in this championship, and it is as unlikely as it seemed 2 years ago for them to come back here and him to be just about as good as he's ever been at 34 was pretty wild. Like, it was pretty fun to see, I thought, even though I thought their complaining was annoying and Draymond Green was annoying. I thought it was pretty cool to see, you know?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, not Boston.
Yes.
Love when not Boston wins. Love when the Celtics lose. Thrilling. I did want it to go to 7 just because I thought it was going to be fun. I honestly was very certain that Boston would have won Game 6, but they just ran out of gas. And that's what you get for playing like 7 rotation guys, heavy minutes across the playoffs. So you have to be deeper than that. Your 8th and 9th guy can't be Peyton Pritchard and Aaron Nesmith that you don't trust. So that's a lesson. And odds are one of Tatum or Brown Smart is going to have like a bad injury just because of how, like, over the course of the next year or whatever, just because like how much wear and tear they put on their body. Spike is disrobing. Interesting choice. But
Sorry.
I just wasn't expecting his shirt to come off during my.
I was hot. It was chilly in my house, and then the hoodie had to come off.
Sure.
It's a very
it was just distracting.
I'm sorry. I tried to do it while I knew you were going to go for a minute. So anyway,
they just aren't. I think one of them is like, that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. Like someone's going to get hurt, and so that's tough for them. It's like it's the playoffs. You got to play them a lot of minutes, but like it's just the way it goes sometimes. Tatum also played in the fucking Olympics. Like, it's just a lot of. I'm surprised they didn't break down sooner, honestly. But Steph, yeah, I mean he's incredible. He kicked ass. I've said this on the podcast before about like Trae Young and Isaiah Thomas, the Celtics one. Like, little guys doing those kinds of things make me just want, like, I want bigger guys to just like shove them into the stands, like into the 15th row. But he's just an incredible player. He's obviously the best shooter of all time, but he's so much more than that. He's improved his handle to the point that he's leveraged his shot to get anywhere he wants on the court. He's got an incredible array of finishes. He's a good passer. He's a good teammate. Like, he's made himself into a absolutely at least average defensive player, which for his size is incredible. It's just, yeah, I think he's top 10 player of all time. I think he changed the game in ways that like very, very few players have in the history of basketball. And I think it meant more, just like it'll mean more in a theoretical way for us, like if the fucking Sixers ever fucking win a championship, because like knowing you've been down, like to come back into it. Like Steph had a tough few first years of his career injury wise, and then was not like, the fans wanted Monte to be the guy, and were upset they traded him, all that stuff. And then they won, and I'm sure that first one was like an incredible feeling, and then they became just like a dynasty, and that was, I'm sure, felt great to keep winning. But like to be like really bad, which they were for 2 years, or at least one of the 2 years, and to know how hard it is, and to see Clay work from his injury and different roster turnover, and having to play with D'Angelo Russell and all these guys, that just like the turnover of it, and the like not getting back to not know when is your last chance to get there. And he might have been done. They might have never, and it was obviously a world where that didn't happen. But I think the relishing it and appreciating it after you've been down is the kind of way that it meant to him a lot, to feel like, okay, I can still do this. I did this more single-handedly than any other of the championships that he's had. He's just an incredible basketball player and a joy to watch. And they are still stupid for not trading James Wiseman. Like, that was dumb. Like, they won a championship, so I guess it doesn't matter. But like, it was stupid. It will be stupid. It was semi-stupid. They easily could have lost to a different team. Like, they easily could have lost to Phoenix if Phoenix hadn't like choked up everything, because they didn't have a guy who can play with Draymond and also protect the rim. Like, Looney is good. Looney had a great playoffs, but he can't stretch the floor. And it should have been Weissman and stuff for Miles Turner. Like, that obviously should have been it. And you don't have to play him 40 minutes a game. He's going to be your best player, but like a guy who can protect the rim and also hit threes to play with Draymond as a defensive player.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's just, it was dumb. They won, and that's great. Weissman is bad. He's played 0 minutes in this finals run.
He was hurt.
It was cocky, and they're rewarded for being cocky. That's fine. But like, they still should have done it. It was a mistake.
You mentioned Steph's handle. Steph's handle is underrated because it does not look. I was talking to my barber about this morning. It doesn't. When you think about Tim Hardaway or Allen Iverson or any of these guys with these fucking sick handles, they dribble so fast, right? Like, but Steph, because everything he does is at this one sort of easy pace, it doesn't look quite as impressive, but he's so under control. It's like, I've said before, it's like everybody else is going, he is seeing everybody else 25% slower than they actually are. So he doesn't need to dribble it as quickly. And he's just become a sick passer. And again, he's 34, and that was as good a season as he's had.
Dribbling wise, I agree. He goes like north-south quicker than, like forwards and backwards quicker than most people do, because he can get into his step back so easily. And guys are so scared of it. He like hesitates, and guys are like lunging past him because they're expecting a step back. He leverages that in such a smart and impressive way.
Well, he does
and
it
there's no
like
way to replicate that aside from being like the best shooter of all time. But like, he has made his handle into just like a real true weapon.
He moves it like he's like a hovercraft. Like he can just go back, forth, left, like at the same speed and tempo. It's sick. And I do think he's top 5. And I think like the conversation has been about him or Magic as the best point guard of all time. And Magic was obviously an amazing player, but I would rather have Steph Curry. I just would. And I think like, you could do the top 10 anyway in a million different ways you wanted to, but I actually think top 10 is actually selling him a little bit short. But he does have an opportunity, right? If they win another championship over the next 2 or 3 years, which is, I don't know if that's likely, but certainly possible. I think that changes it as well. So,
yeah, I mean, he looks very good. To me, it's obvious the reason that me and my boy Windy are on get weary about this. It's just hard to compare eras and stuff. And it's like, you're never gonna know. Like, Magic changed the game in his own way, and Steph changed the game in his, and it's just like there's no way to like put them up against each other in that kind of way. But he's incredible that he's in this conversation for being like a skinny 6'3" dude with bad ankles.
Fake trades from Sixers Adam in a moment. Before that, real mortgage. MortgageCS a trusted sponsor of the Ricky. MortgageCS.com/Ricky. First of all, even if you're not looking for a mortgage, I want you to see the amazing Ricky site they created on their site. It is unequaled. I love all of our sponsors differently. The site they created is unequaled. MortgageCS. So MortgageCS has been with us for a few months now, and I've heard from some Ricky listeners who have gone to MortgageCS, and every one of them said the same thing, that they lived up to what we said they were going to be. You know, mortgage rates have gone up a little bit recently, and it's never been more important than to have a partner in that hunt if you're looking for a home for a mortgage rate. And MortgageCS should be that. They're independent. They are a mortgage broker, not a lender. So what they do is they go to different lenders to find you the best rate. And finding the best rate is usually more complicated than you think it is. Mortgages are complicated, and MortgageCS is there. Alec has explained to me, Ben has explained to me that the most important thing for them is after you go there, you will know more about a mortgage and more about what you're looking for, and you'll be an informed consumer, which is important to them. They don't have any special deals with any special lenders. Their only obligation is to you. You can call or text them anytime. This is Ben's cell phone number, the CEO, 267-391-7425. Try it right now, 267-391-7425. You need your mortgage broker to be with you at all times because you never know when you're going to need a pre-qualification letter or have a question late at night, early in the morning, weekends. They're always there for you. They can be there for you like they have been for other Ricky listeners. Again, go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky or text or call their CEO, Ben, 267-391-7425. This ad is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. MortgageCS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. We've been threatening the Sixers Adam fake trades for a while, but we're finally going to get to them. MOC's trades made everyone mad. I think Sixers Adams trades made everyone a little less mad. What do you think of this one? This is Danny Green, Furkan Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle for Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon has 2 years left at $40.5 million total. The 23-24 salary is not guaranteed, so it's really just 1 year of him if he's not any good. What do you think?
I think it's fine. I think Eric Gordon's a hell of a basketball player. I think he's played with Harden before. If Harden likes him, if he likes playing with him, that's good. Can attack a little bit off the bounce, although he is, 14 seasons into his career, so he's definitely aged up some. Wouldn't help the be aggressive, loose ball, hound guys, be athletic kind of vibe that I'm looking for. But I think as far as a guy who can legitimately shoot from very far away and
high volume, quickly,
and a little bit high volume, and get a little bit off the bounce and defend his position some. He's been on some bad Houston teams the past few years, so I don't think he's had to try much, but I think he is at least sturdy defender that could switch. Played in that switching scheme with Harden a lot. I think it would be fine. I think I would be, if this trade happened, I would be like, okay, totally fine with it. Wouldn't love it. Wouldn't be banging down the doors of the Sixers practice facility to give the front office a kiss, but I'd be fine with it.
Danny Green and either Furkan Korkmaz or Matisse Thybulle. It's interesting to think about who a team might take. There's no way Washington's doing this for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I'm sorry, Adam. There's just no way they're giving up KCP for the corpse of Danny Green and Furkan Korkmaz, right?
Not for Korkmaz. No, I don't think that there's any value in that. But if they do it for Matisse, then they would think okay, we're building. Here's a weaponized defender that we could maybe get into our system. Maybe play with Brad would be interesting. But yeah, I think KCP is pretty clearly the better player. It would be if he asks out type of thing. But I would love KCP on the Sixers. He's the perfect kind of guy. I want him there.
So Sixers Adam, who I love, did cop out a little bit on this one. DeAnthony Melton is the trade target. Mm-hmm. He says Green and, quote, either Thibault or valuable draft compensation to make it worth doing for the Grizzlies. So would you do Green and the 23 pick for DeAnthony Melton? Forget about Thibault because he's becoming the put him in every trade thing. We don't know what he's worth. Let's talk about something that we actually do value significantly in that 23 pick. Would you do it for Melton?
How much does Melton have left on his contract?
2 years, $18.7 million.
A 2-year. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. It's basically saying if you took the 23rd pick and got like a Jaden Springer type prospect that would require a year or two of being in the G League, not being in the regular rotation, that kind of thing, then you're saying like, okay, 2 years of Melton versus 2 years of that person on a rookie deal. The question is, could you get someone who is as good or in the ballpark of good as Melton that's like more of like a ready-made player, whether that's EJ Liddell or Christian Brown or one of those guys that you'd have for 4 years at less money. And it's more of a sure thing, obviously, in Melton because you know he's good right now. I'd probably take that risk though, and then try to buy a second round pick to get somebody that falls, because I think there's obviously value in that. We should talk about David Roddy's mom retweeting the video of me, by the way.
Oh yes. We'll get to it in a second. And when we get to the YouTube comments, we'll get there. Cork. Now, can we just stop down and talk about it now? Because now I'm laughing about it.
I'm trying to imagine being someone's mom and then me saying
I'm gonna
what
play
I was
the clip.
saying positively
play the
about her
clip.
son. Okay.
Yeah, let me play the clip so people can hear it. So we cut a clip for our Instagram and our Twitter of Mike talking about David Roddy. What's that?
Glowingly about him.
Glowingly about David Roddy. Here's the clip. Fucking ridiculous.
Oh, Spike, I love him. David Roddy, Colorado State. He's a 6 fucking tank. He's got that boat in him. He's got a boat in his gut, and it's revving all game long. I love him. He's my total PJ Tucker.
Okay, so first of all, the bleep. People mentioned we didn't bleep the curse word. Instagram does that. I didn't bleep it. But can you imagine you're David Roddy's mom? It's cool that somebody is talking about your son, but then you watch it and the guy's saying he has a boat in his gut.
She's like, yes, he does. Absolutely, he does.
She
That's my boy.
tweeted it with a heart.
Great. I love him.
Yep. I love it. Next trade,
two
like more.
Are you now? You're very. I feel like, as far as draft picks, prospects, I feel like you are for sale because you don't care that much and you don't invest much of your time with it. Are you now more on board with David Roddy because his mom posted the video?
I think anyone who's listened to this podcast for a while knows I like running bits, and David Roddy obviously would give us material, an interested mom. The boat thing ends up living on. We call him the boat. Like, I would agree. I'm a little worried about basketball players who are like, I don't like overweight basketball players, but
I love them.
But I am for sale. Jeremy Sohan's going to go before 23, right?
Yeah.
So if we can't get him, sure. David Roddy would be fine. Okay. I would love the bit. 2 more trades. Korkmaz for Cedi Osman. Like, obviously, we would do this, right?
I mean, you look at the Sixers right now.
Yeah.
And especially with Danny out for at least most of the year. He said he wants to come back in February. That is ambitious for a guy his age with that injury.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the Sixers roster, and there are not like shooters that the other team would be scared about.
Yes.
And Korkmaz wasn't that for a lot of last year, but theoretically he would be. I guess you could say theoretically Isaiah Joe would be also, but neither of those guys were.
But Korkmaz has been previously. We've watched,
but never consistent enough that you'd feel, he fell out of the rotation, all that stuff. So I just think, like, as much as I guess George Niang, but he's not flying around screens or anything. He's pretty much just stationary. And Maxi's made himself into a good shooter, all that stuff. But like as far as just like an off-ball shooting threat that you are really worried about in the vein of a Danny, in the vein of a JJ Redick, those kinds of things, they're really lacking one. And if they trade Korkmaz for Chetty, who is like also a good shooter, like a hot shooter sometimes, but then I think inconsistent as well. Chetty's definitely a better player at this point, for sure. Can defend his position more, bigger, more physical, can create a little more for himself. Keeps falling out of the Cavs rotation in a weird way. Like he'll play 37 minutes one night and then like 6 the next. Like there's a weirdness there. So I'm sure it's one of those things that can only be discovered if you're watching them every night. But I would do this trade, but I am concerned generally about the Sixers' lack of like real weaponized shooting.
And the final trade, Isaiah Joe, Paul Reed, or Charles Bassey for Kenrick Williams.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I love Kenrich Williams. Kenrich Williams, who's, I believe Mom has commented on something of mine before because I loved Kenrich Williams. Huge Kenrich Williams guys. Get him out of Oklahoma City. He's still in Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He feels like he's been there, been rumored to be out of there for a long time, but he's just really good. Sort of like guy that knows where to be all the time, like has a knack for coming away with the ball. Good passer, smart player. Can shoot a little bit, can do kind of some of everything. I would like him on the team very much. And yeah, I think the idea that the Sixers are not going to sign a backup center that is a veteran, I think that they're going to do that. Whether it's a DeAndre Jordan or Paul Millsap type, Doc is going to want a veteran back there, like 100%. And I want one of B-Ball Paul or Charles Bassey to be the backup center. So I honestly think they should trade one of them to at some, not height of their value. I don't know. I think there's gonna be more, but like if Daryl believes in one of them over the other one should be traded for a wing that can play, not just let them like rot on the bench to be like the fourth center that Doc would never play.
The hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week. Look, I took a few of them because the YouTube comments in the last pod for the big board were there's a lot of CJ centric stuff in there, some taking shots at CJ. So I picked 4 comments. A couple of them go together. The first one comes from Charles Keeley, a complaint about CJ. CJ, get it together and cut to some video clips while the guys are talking about the players. CJ, defense.
So I was actually pulling up the stats of the guys on my other screen, but I figured you guys were running through them too quickly that it wasn't that appealing to just look at a box score of their stats. Maybe next year I'll ask for your lists before and then prepare it. That probably would have been a good idea.
Okay.
He's not wrong, Charles.
Okay. Wow.
Wow. Windhorst would never.
Now, this is also CJ centric. First comes from Jacob. We need a measurement on CJ. He's an NBA 6 foot. And then Jaybird says 5'9" isn't short, guys. So could we, the next time we're all together, I won't be on the draft night pod, but could we the next time could we measure CJ on the pod?
I think we could figure out a way. I got a tape measure in here.
Are you 6 feet with shoes or without shoes?
I don't remember. I feel like I've just been saying 6 feet since like my senior year of high school. I don't remember the last time I measured myself.
Wow, he's backtracking.
Suspicious.
Can we get girlfriend's dad to measure you live on the pod?
Possibly.
You can say no.
He wouldn't be against it. He's a star in front of the camera.
Okay, great.
So possibly.
I feel like he would be girlfriend's dad is an honest arbiter of height, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Generally.
Very honest guy. Yeah.
We need somebody honest on this one.
Yeah.
And final comment comes from Chris. Funny story. I was flying out of the Atlanta airport right before the Miami series started. I happened to notice 3 guys wearing Blue Coats gear. I was wearing a Sixers hat and said TTP and didn't get a response. Made it through security and happened to run into them again. They were scouts for the Blue Coats in town for a G League event, but we chatted about the team for a little while. Funniest thing they said was, quote, "We don't have a chance beating Miami with this bench." Love that even the franchise knew we didn't have a shot. Now, this is a YouTube comment. We don't know if it's true. We can't be guaranteed that this actually happened, but it doesn't sound like a lie.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to get any Blue Coat scouts who are presumably not paid a ton of money.
Yes.
Fired over a random.
This guy's
music company.
probably lying.
Let's say he's lying.
He's
But they
lying.
were right.
Yeah.
If he's not lying, they were right. And that's just good scouting, honestly.
Before we get to the mailbag, Mike just got his shipment of E-Lite from Bodybio. How's that working out for you? You just got your new E-Lite shipment. There it is. There it is, E-Lite.
It's great.
Working out for you. So
he's just a little capsule, little
Yep.
capful in the drink. Stir it
Yep.
up, drink it, no cramps.
there it is. E-Lite is a great supplement from Bodybio. Bodybio's sponsor. They're family-owned, family-operated here in Jersey. E-Lite is the first thing we ever started talking about. You know, hydration important, but it's not just about drinking water. It's about electrolytes. Now, every time you hear about electrolytes, you're like, oh, it comes in this great fucking drink with artificial flavors or colors or sugar in it. The great thing about E-Lite is it has all the electrolytes without any of that bullshit. As Mike said, you take a little cap of it, you put it in whatever you're drinking, and it keeps you hydrated properly. Make sure, I had a terrible cramp problem in my feet, in my calves, in my quads. I would get them because I don't hydrate properly. As soon as I started using E-Lite, they went away. So E-Lite, great product from Bodybio. Liposomal vitamin C, another great product. Very important for your immune system, not like the other vitamin C supplements that you just end up peeing out. This one gets right into your cells, so your body absorbs it more. And a new supplement coming from Bodybio in July that we'll be really excited to tell you about. Just try E-Lite, try liposomal vitamin C. Do it by using our code RTRS20 at checkout at bodybio.com. 20% off everything. Not just your first order, second order, third order, everything, all the time. Use code RTRS20 at bodybio.com for 20% off. We love Bodybio. Here comes the mailbag. Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com is where you send us emails, or you can call us at 833-LICKFACE. You don't need the E. But 833-LICKFACE, you can leave us voicemails. This comes from Jacob. Hey guys, the most infuriating sports take must be that someone on a losing team should win MVP. Lots of people did this for LeBron, and now Perk was doing it for Steph. Can we all agree that the finals MVP should be on the winning team? I agree.
Yeah. I don't care that much. And I didn't care that Steph didn't have a finals MVP at all. I don't think it matters. So let me get Windhorsty for a second.
I don't want to talk about this.
But why are we talking? Why are we talking? Yeah, I mean, I think if somebody has I think with rare exceptions, I would say that there is occasionally but 99% of the time, I would agree with this.
I'd agree all the time. But how valuable could you be if you didn't win? The point of the I know I hate dumbing it down like that, but the point of the game is to win. It has to be. Now sometimes it will be.
It has to go to at least 7. If it goes to 7 and you were hands down, if you played if you were like average like high 30s with a ton of numbers, and the rest of your team just like played like shit, and there's no like real number one standout from the other guys. Which in Boston, like who would have if Boston won Game 6? There's no one on Boston that'd be like, it's got to be whoever.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would have like stood out, like Horford like versus Steph in that instance. If Boston came back to win that game, like it's not a to me it's not. There's occasional circumstances where it could be validated.
I think the real question for me is like, would I rather it be something stupid like the Hawks team player of the month? Like, would I rather the MVP be the starting lineup or something?
That'd be so stupid.
On the
Congrats, you won
team.
the finals, and all of you are the MVP. Like that
Yep.
would be worse. That would be way worse.
Um,
And yes, happy. It's nice that Al Horford played well. Great. I'm so happy that he did not win a championship. I'm so happy that
better
the
for
Celtics
us.
lost. It's fuck Boston forever. Like I don't know. I know you entertained rooting for the Celtics in this thing. Like never, under no circumstances, against nobody. It's always going to be fuck Boston. I have so many friends who are Celtics fans, and I'm not the kind of guy that like texts friends when you lose. Like it's not me at all. But just know that the way I feel forever is fuck Boston and fuck the Celtics. Absolutely, always.
here's a voicemail. Remember, you can call us at 833-LICKFACE.
So I mean, 1 year, $47 million, and we have to honor this contract. Daryl, why? Because there was an agreement in place. But if a dumb organization agrees to an agreement, maybe they can just renege because they realized it was dumb. The Celtics reneged on, Isaiah Thomas and then the finals. It's okay. Decorum doesn't matter. That's why we hired Colangelo. Get a clue, find a new slant, get rid of Harden.
That sounded like Daryl. That
Daryl
sounded like Daryl's voice.
Flooding the voicemail. It
think it
did
might have
sound a
been.
little like Daryl, actually.
Yeah.
By the way, the non-basketball question from Jacob was, I just graduated college and moved to DC. What advice do you have for moving? I have advice. Do you have any advice?
Just rip through it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Get it done quick.
I have, this will sound privileged and grown up advice. Pay somebody to do it. Like, save up, do whatever you can, work another job, drive fucking DoorDash or Uber, put money away. The money that you pay movers is worth every single penny. Especially,
I couldn't disagree more.
Oh, you're wrong.
I could not disagree more. We moved ourselves into this and saved a bunch of money and got to spend it on stuff that like you can actually see and be like, hey, we bought this because we didn't pay movers, or hey, we got to pay for this because we didn't pay for movers. CJ popping in.
I read it as he already moved. Like, what advice do you have for him, like moving to a new city? Because he said he graduated and he has since moved to DC.
Oh,
Spike just wants to pay random guys to move stuff around. That's his advice.
Well, it's the real. Well, yeah, I guess if you've already moved, that's what
Especially
it is.
out of college, you don't have that much shit. Like, no, there's absolutely no way to pay movers. You save it for other stuff. It's a bad allocation of money.
Well,
Bad.
once you have stuff, I'm telling you, none of your friends want to fucking help you move your couch. You'll get to a place where you can't fit the couch up the stairs. Let somebody else do it.
If you pay movers while you're still in your 20s, like egregious violation.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I would say
didn't do
even
it.
until you're like 40, you shouldn't pay movers.
No, I had movers when I was 30.
But I
31.
think I'm telling you, it's a bad allocation of money because you're gonna get there and be like, okay, our stuff's here, but I just spent like however many thousands of dollars to help movers.
How much do you think it costs to move?
Depends how much stuff you have.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Isn't it like $3,000 to move for like a day?
Well, it depends. It depends, right? Like, I think the first time I moved, it was less than $1,000 to move. Like when I moved Philly to Philly.
All right, maybe I'm thinking LA pricing then.
Yeah. This comes from Corey. Howdy, gentlemen. Per the rules, I am prepared to submit a basketball and non-basketball question. Basketball. I was watching a finals game yesterday, and I was shocked about how many players each of these teams have that have gotten better over time. Smart, Brown, Wiggins, Poole, etc. These teams develop players, some with real pedigree, some with none. When the Phillies fail to develop players, we can look at the person whose title is Director of Player Development and blame them. Who do we blame for the Sixers and their inability to get players to improve over time? I think this is kind of a misnomer. There are Sixers who have gotten better over time. Maxey got better, Embiid got better, Mike. All of them didn't get better, but there were some Celtics that didn't get better. You know, there's some Warriors that didn't get better.
I mean, Maxey got better so fast that you give it to him. Like, I credit him for getting better. I don't think the Sixers got in the way of it, although Doc probably tried to, but I give him credit for doing it so much better. Whereas, like, Isaiah Joe is the guy that should have gotten better year to year, should have made the rotation, should be in like a
He's
good
only been here
position
1
to
year though.
prove a rotation spot. No, that was Isaiah Joe's second year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's stunning. Yeah, he should have been.
He should have gotten better. And
That's
he's a guy
fucking
that they
crazy.
like basically promised. There were so many Isaiah Joe rumors ahead of time about like they're definitely going to take Isaiah Joe. I was worried about them taking him at 21. They ended up taking him like 48, I think it was.
You're right.
But yeah, like those are examples. Like if Charlie Brown Jr. I'm gonna keep bringing up Charlie Brown Jr. every fucking podcast. I'm bringing up Charlie Brown Jr. So get used to it.
I've noticed.
But if he like goes from two-way player to be like, okay, now he's in the rotation. Now he's like, or he's a back of the roster type. He plays a little bit. Like those kinds of things that you want to see. I would argue that Marcus Smart, like has gotten better sometimes, but he's been this guy for a long time, and he still makes really bad decisions a lot of the time, which is crazy.
Not everything's they're not going to get better at everything all the time.
Yeah, for sure. But as an example of like Marcus Smart was a number 7, 8 pick in the draft. So what I want to see is more like second round guy with potential becomes like turns into like his second or third year. They put time into him and he improves this skill. Like nobody's like that. And Embiid's obviously gotten better, but Embiid is the franchise. And Maxi's gotten better because I think he's just like a psycho workhorse who's just like a great kid. And I would love like if B-Ball Paul or Charles Bassey takes the reins of a backup 5 next season, legitimately, then I will give some credit to the Sixers player development staff. If they don't, then if neither of them do, if neither of them are like take leaps forward, then that's on them. Like they have to do. It's obviously it's in tandem. Sometimes it's the players, sometimes it's them. But like
sometimes it's opportunity. By the way, like they could have the best player development coaches in the world if they don't get on the court. Because one thing that Hinkie said was the most valuable thing and the hardest thing to get is NBA minutes. So and this team's already good. So let's go to the voicemail 833 Lickface.
Hello, Spike, Mike, and CJ. This is James from fateful Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I've been a fan of the Sixers since I was a wee boy, and I've been with the process era Sixers from beginning to now. And there's something that's been just gnawing at the back of my mind ever since this whole thing started. Whenever the event of Retweet Armageddon happened, it seemed as though every move the Sixers made after that has just involved them tripping over or throwing up on themselves. I'm not sure if it's a Ricky curse or if it's just a Sixers curse because we just can't seem to do anything right. But to me, it felt a little premature to do Retweet Armageddon when we made the pick swap. And it seems as though ever since then, the Sixers, at every pivotal decision, have made the wrong one. Curious on your guys' opinions. Love the pod. See.
We've heard that Retweet Armageddon was a curse before. Remembering the Retweet Armageddon Congress, I think one of the reasons that it happened when it does, and no one will admit this, but just the fear in the gut that if we didn't do it then, we may not know when to do it, or we may never get the opportunity. And it needed to happen. I thought
for sure. It was a little bit like challenging a call, where it was like, this is the right call to make. We're going to get this call overturned. We're going to use it now. There might be a better time to do it later in the game. We don't know, but like these are free points that we're going to get right now. And we had to take that opportunity, and we were right. And since then, some things have gone maybe not the way that we would have hoped.
It was so fun. I wish I remembered that day better. But trending nationally for Retweet Armageddon was one that was a great moment. I'm sorry, it was a great moment. And just hearing the story about, because it happened in the middle of the day, hearing the story about the Sixers writers like being pissed off that it was happening to them during the day from some people that were there is funny to me. It's worth it. I'm sorry. I think this is an easy one. 2 more mailbag questions. Writes RickySanchez@gmail.com. This comes from Ned. Would you rather spend an hour talking about basketball with either Kendrick Perkins or Brian Windhorst when you have to agree and compliment all of their terrible opinions?
Windy back in the mix. Kendrick, he at least played in the NBA.
Perkins,
That's an interesting. Let's at least have a conversation about like basketball generally.
I think he's charming.
Brian Windhorst
I think he's
would
funny.
be whispering to me like passive aggressively, being like, "I'm so upset. People are going to hear this. And they're going to be."
And finally,
poor Windhorst, but he does suck.
Finally, from Anthony, how big of a loss do you feel Sam Cassell would be? I haven't gleaned much over his tenure other than players were potentially more of a fan of him than Doc. The thing I only remember with Cassell the most was him working with Simmons all the time. I remember seeing pictures and videos and things like that. I don't know if somebody else thinks. Go ahead.
Having more of a fun time with Maxey and Harden. It seems like they're more over the last few months has been like more engaged and stuff with him. I would be bummed. I'd be happy for him. I'd be bummed to lose another assistant coach who played in the league who people seem to respond to. That would be 3 in a row. So I would be unhappy about that. But I also want good things for Sam Cassell. He seems like a guy who works hard and obviously was a good player.
And then finally, Anthony's non-basketball question. He sent the image of the new Eagles word mark and said, tell me this doesn't just scream something like, quote, addressing the need for a more metaverse-friendly word marking. Mike, I imagine you would either, one or the other, you'd have either a great opinion or just not care at all. Your opinion on the Eagles changing their font.
I think it was certainly unnecessary, but I guess they would say we have an opportunity to make more money selling more shit. I don't think it's good, but I also don't care.
I think I was not impressed by the new one, though I don't know what letters could have impressed me. They're just letters. I think what the new one does is make you look at the old one and go, yeah, it might have been time for something new. Like the old one looked worse in retrospect when seeing the new one, even though I'm not sure that the new one is better.
But anytime you try to do anytime you try to like modernize the look of something, it just looks like chrome nothingness. It's just like, now it's like shiny and like powerful. It's like, what am I supposed to feel about that? At least the other logo, it's like, it's been that way for many years, and so we're used to it, and we like it, and you feel fondness there. It's going to take many years for this type of logo to feel really anything at all. It's just like, okay. I just don't think there's a need to change. And once you get past the hard part of like a fan base getting, accustomed and comfortable with something, then it's like, cool, you're already in there. I just don't think this is necessary. But if they're saying we want to sell more shit, then I guess, sell your shit, Eagles. I'm sure you're having a tough time making money.
Have you ever noticed the right side? CJ, could you put that back up? Have you ever noticed the right side of the eagle is an E?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I found out last year. I was like, oh, I never noticed that before. That before. Well, you fucking know everything, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right.
It's a good logo.
Well, for the first time probably ever, I will not be on the draft night pod, but there will be a draft night pod. Mike will go through every player who wasn't drafted in order of what the Sixers should look at.
It's going to get off the rails. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. I'm going to do a bad job. Nobody's going to be happy, but it will be long. So yeah, we have that.
All right. We will talk to you Thursday night then. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, leg face.